Hey, I'm Austin Lemoyne. I'm 29 years old.
I'm Troy Chebuhar, also 29 years old.
We are Noble Savage.
And this is our bus, Tawanda.
Why a bus?
Yeah. Oh, why a bus? A big reason we chose a bus is because of the project itself. We didn't want an RV that was already done. We wanted the project. We wanted to fully build it and do the plumbing, do the electrical, put a freezer in there, all of these things.
Make it fit our life.
Yeah. So it was, part learning and part fun to take all that on. This thing is a 1999. We bought it with 40,000 miles on it. It's got a Cummins 5.9 liter diesel in it.
With an Allison Trans.
Allison Tran, all Midwest parts.
Good stuff, yeah. It was a very specific combo we were looking for, and we found it. So another thing that's cool about this bus is you notice it's got a big flat front end. That's because the engine's in the back. And it's nice to have your engine in the back because it connects to the back wheels, and therefore you don't have a giant long drivetrain running underneath the bus, which can inhibit your storage building potential.
So this is the utility side of the bus. You have the fresh water tank back here, the two gas tanks for our stove and oven. This is the gray water tank, and then these are the batteries for the solar panels. There's 6 deep cycle golf cart batteries, which is plenty of juice. Plenty of storage for all of our solar.
And we made this tray here pull out, which is kind of an important thing to think about if you're going to do this, because you need to fill the batteries periodically with distilled water. So the whole thing slides out, and that leg drops down to support it. That's where you fill them. This is our composting bucket. So that just lowers down, get it out here real easy, go bury it. And then, all of the engine and electrical stuff's over here. This is where we cut off the old AC stuff and just kind of left it hanging, because that's cool. You gotta get the red shirt out.
I gotta get my
red shirt out. Grease shirt out.
Get covered in grease. When we get to a city, these are our 2 bikes, and we use those to get around town, pick up groceries.
It's not necessarily easy to just cruise around town in a big old bus. So we usually cruise on those, or we walk a lot. But we like to bike anyway, so it works out okay. Troy's got his grease shirt specific for this job of opening the engine bay because it's greasy as I don't know what back here. And it's a 2-man job to drop this. So this is what we do when we check the fluids pretty much every time we stop somewhere. It's important to check your fluids. Bada bang.
This dirty motor. The
Cummins 5.9.
The Cummins 5.9 liter diesel. 24 valve.
This is the flip side over here. Another storage thing. We tried to make them pretty stealth, so you didn't like know to rip us off.
Just a dry storage, winter clothes, tools, speakers for DJing.
That's it. Just a big old box with 2 doors.
What's this? This is the circuit panel. A lot of fuses, turn signals, heaters. Yeah, I don't mean, this actually has no use to us usually. There's not that much that goes wrong in here.
Nothing has ever gone wrong there, knock on wood.
There's really nothing that goes wrong in here.
Let's go. All right, we're on the roof of the bus, and we're standing next to our solar array here. We have 500 watt or 100 watt panels that are on a aluminum rack system that we built here. Which is pretty important for tilting them, shedding snow, collecting more energy in the winter.
Yep.
Yeah, so they all pull out in 2 bolts, and you can tilt the thing to a bunch of different angles, and you just got to make sure you lower them before you drive. That's the panels. They're getting cheaper. Get them. Yeah. So before we started anything, we actually went and sealed the whole roof. We were going to put all this time into the wood, so we wanted it to be really dry. And we ended up using this stuff called Eternabond. It's a tape, and it's kind of expensive, but it's worked really good. Just takes a long time to apply, so I would recommend it. And there's someone honking. Hey! Yeah. Eternabond. Yeah. Can we get sponsorship?
Yeah, sponsor us. This is the chimney for the wood burning stove. It's only been clipped on 1 power line in New Orleans, but
Don't tell anyone.
don't tell anyone about that.
Yep, that's good. Yeah,
Right away clean.
right away clean. I like that. Yeah, you know, everything we got's in here, so had to try to lock it down pretty good. It's kind of weird when you got doors with like tons of glass on them, so.
Lock here, lock here, lock here.
Here's on the inside. Yep, just 2 deadbolts right on the bottom. Jimmy proof, as they call them. So there's you have to use a key on both sides. So if somebody did bash through this window, they couldn't just unlock it. You know, we put this bar here just so that, again, if somebody breaks the window, they can't just like crawl right in there. So that's about it.
This one's got metal because I broke the window.
By accident with a board. Yep.
With
Accidents
a piece
happen.
of wood.
But it not just got metal. So far, so good. Yeah. All right, welcome aboard. This is our bus, home, and workspace, Tawanda. There's a ton of wood in here. It's almost all reclaimed. It was free. A lot of it came from a barn we tore down in Wisconsin. There's a lot of different things in here, but some of the first things you'll notice is maybe our wood stove. Got this from an ice fisherman in Wisconsin. We wanted a small one, and we wanted to go with wood heat. You can always find wood if you need it, no matter how desperate you are, or at least something to burn. It's also a kind of a fun, active way to stay warm. Everybody kind of huddles around it, and you know, having a wood stove means you need to have seating near that wood stove because that's where everyone's going to congregate. So, got a big old bench. Probably noticed there's a ton of windows too. We didn't block any windows, So try to keep it feeling open. They're all emergency exits actually, like this one, and you can kickstand all of them open just like that, or close them.
So every single window in the bus does that, which is really nice. Those are the stock windows.
Yep.
They're all tinted, which is also really nice. We got a skylight here. This is the old emergency hatch. There's one here, and then there's another one in the back there.
We used some old AC ducts to make shelves up here. Cut out the face of them. There used to be, the AC was actually the first thing we ripped out of this bus. We weren't going to run the bus to cool it down all the time. It's noisy and it's pretty wasteful. So we figure we'll rip the AC out. We'll save some weight. We got a ton of windows. We'll just keep them open and keep it breezy, and we'll get used to it when it's hot. So that's what we do. And just put in this roof vent. We were going down to New Orleans and we needed some ventilation, so that kind of saved us this past season. We're kind of in the kitchen section now, so the front is, you know, kind of a hangout zone, a nice big bench where, you know, we have people over, everybody can sit up there, and the next section you get to is kind of a kitchen slash music zone slash library, multi-purpose space here. Got our sink with a little foot pump here. This thing's great because you can use a little bit of water, or you can, you know, really make it flow, and you can just really have like very direct control over it. Everything that comes out of there is drinking water. We got a really basic filtration system back here that allows us to pull water from anywhere and drink it. So anything coming out there is good to go.
Lakes, rivers, streams, hoses.
Yep.
You got a little 3-burner stove here. This is running off propane. Oven, stove.
Yep, almost always a cast iron skillet on here.
Gotta have the cast.
Keeps the dish load very low, and you can just keep reusing a cast. You don't have to clean it all the time, and you know, we just love cooking on those.
Knife rack, spice rack, odds and ends, flour, sugar, all that. Coffee.
We cook almost all meals every day on here. That's kind of one of the fundamental ways that we're able to keep our lives super cheap. And once you start doing that, you can just save a ton of money, and that's kind of the name of the game for us. The more you can save, the more kind of freedom and time you got to pursue other stuff. You don't have to be worrying about making dough all the time.
Another way to save money is this thing here. Is the deep freezer. It's a DC chest freezer. We'll do a lot of stocking food when we can. We're just up at a friend's house. Some fresh pork. There's some fresh fish in there. All sorts of stuff.
Berries
from Washington.
Another beautiful thing is when you're running a freezer, you have the opportunity to like freeze these refreezable packs. And so instead of running 2 separate appliances, a freezer and a fridge, we just choose to get a bunch of these refreezable packs, and then we'll just cycle these into a cooler, you know, maybe once every day or every other day, depending on the season. This keeps this at fridge temp, and you know, we don't have to use power for 2 appliances.
Refrigerator. It's slightly stinky right now.
So you'll notice the refrigerator here is sitting on a bunch of boxes. Those are all records, and the reason we have a lot of records is because right over here we actually have our 2 turntables. So this opens up, and yeah, we chose to build out a big portion of this bus for playing records. Not necessarily, I don't know, practical for all builds, but for us, you know, that's a big part of what we're into and passionate about is records, collecting records and playing records, and you know, we love it. We get to make money doing it sometimes, and it's just a lot of fun, and so we kind of went overboard on our record thing. And if you're playing 45s, you kind of need 2 turntables.
Gotta have 2 turntables. A lot of the record spinning we do is 45 based. It's a lot of soul, funk, blues, and so these are all 45s down here, boxes of them, and then this is a drawer that slides out for a ton of LPs as well. Some more storage in the back here.
Yeah, this is a really heavy drawer, so we actually ended up using some recycled drawer slides from a heavy-duty toolbox, a Matco drawer slide, to make this work. Otherwise, I think it would have ripped any other hinge apart. That took some work to figure that out. Another kind of interesting feature about this turntable setup is both of these turntables sit on a big tray, and it actually just kind of floats in this, record cabinet on these 4 points. And that is great because we're always parked on different surfaces. We don't have crank down levelers like RVs do. So instead, we can just reach under here, turn a couple wing nuts, and level out this whole tray as one. It's also beautiful because you can drop it down and take the whole tray out as one unit if you want to go do a gig, maybe inside of a bar or at someone's house or a wedding or whatever. So that's a nice feature. And then you got this top just to kind of keep everything covered and cozy under there.
You could take this whole top off with just these 2 points here. So take that out, open the window, DJ a block party, wedding.
And then right above it you got our library, which is always expanding. Of course, you got Lloyd Kahn books here, and just all sorts of different fun stuff that we're into. There's the library has since expanded to the front dash, so I don't know where the next one will be, but I'm sure there will probably be a 3rd library
Probably
spot
above
at
the
some
studio
point.
table.
Yep, very possible. Then like the 3rd zone of the bus is this back area, and we designed this as really just like a multi-purpose workspace. So you can kind of,
computer workspace, breakfast nook, just seating, drawing, painting, whatever we happen to be working on. Little old Frankenstein chair here. This is an old lunchroom table. This is actually one of the original bus seats frames, just kind of modded. Box drum here made from our buddy Tad in Chicago. There's a snare across the front here. It's called a cajon. There's a little rattle in there, and you can do all sorts of different sounds.
It's great when you're sitting there too, so Troy can be hanging out, and you can actually tilt this up. This is a little drafting table, adjustable, and if you're drawing, we have binder clips. Clip a big piece on here. You can drum away while you're drawing. So that's kind of fun. Goes down like that. Nook back here, and then just a bunch of assorted different, mostly art tools. These are chisels, for example. Bunch of paints. These are more paints and pens.
Tape.
Just tape
drawer tape.
Yeah, so just, assorted different art supplies, printing things, watercolors in there. Next to that, you have a fun section here.
The throne.
Yeah, widely open. Don't have a door or a curtain or anything like that, and works out just fine for us. It's a composting toilet setup, and the waste can be removed from the outside, so you don't have to pull the bucket out from in here. There's a 10-inch blast gate from a dust collection system that, kind of keeps it separated. That pulls out to just kind of expose the waste inside. So
might not want to open that right now.
Pretty basic, yeah. And then Troy's standing on our shower. So
shower basin, just an old laundry sink, one of the dirty sinks cut down.
Water runs through this post right here, another, barnwood obviously, comes out the top. We string up a bike cable that goes in these little hooks. Most people don't even notice these. you clip the curtain to your bike cable, you step inside, and then you got your on-off valve inside the curtain, so you don't have to like reach out, and just kind of keeps everything contained when you tuck it in there. This cedar came from someone down the block who was tearing their deck down, and
decided to throw it all in the dumpster.
yeah, it's great for something that gets wet. So, and then yeah, you got a little connection right there for if you want to connect a hose and do an outdoor shower. That's also an option. Everything is powered by a little SureFlow 12-volt pump inside here.
Might be even slightly messy.
Yeah. In there somewhere. Yeah, and there's a
SureFlow pump.
Trust me.
Yeah, it's back on the wall. So this is part of our water system, basically. There's a main tank below the floor, and then we crank that water, or whatever it is,
5 gallons at a time.
and that comes up into this. There's 2 ceramic filters in here, and then it gravity filters into the bottom bucket, and then your bottom bucket is your your drinking water, and that goes to the sink. And
we don't have a hot water heater. We could definitely get one. They're not very big these days, and they're not that expensive, but our solution to that, you know, knowing that we don't need hot showers that often, you know, we're in a lot of different climates. There's actually a little 3/4 spigot connection on this side, and what we can do is you'll hook up a hose to that, and then, you know, the way we see it is if we need a hot shower, it's probably a little bit cooler outside, so there's a good chance the wood burner's rocking, and we'll put a big pot of water on the wood burner, wait till it's a good temperature, and then you can move it. You could, if you really want to be cool, you can move it over to the stove here, turn on a burner there, keep it warm, run your hose over into that pot, flip a valve in there, and then your shower will draw out of that hot pot instead of from the below tank. So that's our hot water heater solution.
So a big part of our design philosophy was to keep everything below the window line. We kind of just wanted to be able to see 360 out of the windows. We have the option to put up curtains if we want to. So almost everything is below the windows, which is really nice to have an open space, basically.
It's a lot more enjoyable to hang out in here for us, just kind of having that open feeling. It doesn't feel like a claustrophobic container as much. You know, with that in mind, we kind of just started building in the front. It was the winter time when we started, and we tried drawing some floor plans originally, and the floor plans, you know, we'd look at this picture and it was really hard for us to wrap our head around how it was actually going to feel when we built it. So we kind of just decided to scrap planning the whole thing out.
Drawing things, blueprinting things.
Yeah, we said we're not doing that. And we started at the front. We put in the wood burner first. It was cold out, so that was the most necessary thing to put in. So we did that. The next thing we did was the bench, because that kind of relates to the wood burner.
And the driver, we wanted to have somewhere where when someone's driving, you could sit next to them basically and talk and chat and stuff. So
yeah, you gotta have a co-pilot seat.
Gotta have a DJ and a co-pilot.
Yep. So after we did the bench, we just kind of kept working our way down here. We also didn't want to have a straight line through the bus. We didn't want it to just be a hallway. So we actually really went out of our way to make this walkway kind of flow to the side, where you have to walk around this little island. And I don't know, it's a really minor thing, but I think it makes a big difference. So then the next thing we moved on to was the kitchen. You know, obviously we needed a lot of counter space. We cook all the time, and we needed access to like all these spices when we're doing that. So that's kind of how this came together. And then we just kind of worked our way around the whole bus. You know, did this, did the toilet, This ended up being a bed. Originally, we were going to build a roof section, actually. We were going to cut a big hole in the roof and build 2 bunks.
Two lofted beds up on the sides there.
And we kind of got to the end point of, this area. Everything was done, and I don't know, we just wanted to see if maybe we didn't need that. And so we decided we would go for a while and see how comfortable it was to just sleep using that as a bed and the front bench, which is narrow, but that's okay. We're really used to it. But it's actually worked out really well, and we've since decided that we definitely don't need a rooftop space anymore, although it would be kind of fun to build, so who knows, maybe we'll do it one day. This project was kind of a long time in the making. It started years before we got the bus. We were both working full time. We saved up, paid off our loans. That was the first thing we wanted to do. We did not want to be in debt when we did this because that kind of kills it for you, at least in our perspective. Paid off the loans, saved a bunch of money to potentially buy a bus. Then it was a long process of actually looking and finding the right bus. Once we had the bus, then it was this whole big building process that took a year and a half and involved acquiring materials and making a ton of collaborative decisions. And it was a multi-year process. It wasn't like a quick, I want to go on a road trip thing. It's a big deal.
Yeah. One of the ways we keep diesel in our tank is spinning records. Obviously, is the most fun way to make money. But we do a lot of labor. We just painted a house in Washington. We redid a deck back in Chicago. We also just don't need a huge source of income to live the life we're living either. So we're not that stressed for money.
That's kind of that's kind of what we wanted to accomplish.
Yeah.
Was a low overhead lifestyle. So we don't have to constantly hustle.
How much would you say you spend per month?
No idea. Do not track that at all.
We do get about 9 miles a gallon, which isn't that bad for your house.
Yeah. But it's nice because we're in control of most of our expenses, and diesel being the biggest one, we don't have to drive all the time. So we find that we actually, not only do we save more money, but we kind of have a better time and get a better view of like what a place is if we can post up there for maybe 2 weeks instead of spending 2 days and then jumping to another place and jumping to another place and jumping to another place.
Yeah.
So that ends up saving us money.
I would encourage people just to live a lower overhead lifestyle entirely, basically. It doesn't matter if you're living in a bus or a small house or something, but some way that you're not using as much energy or saving more money, cooking for yourself. I think that's definitely a more enjoyable lifestyle.
Bus is just kind of one way to have a
one way to
cost
do it.
Life. But I think it's also like it's a different lifestyle that maybe people like think it looks cool in pictures, and they're like, maybe I want to do that, but then maybe it's not really what they really want to do. So I think you just need to like really think about like what the lifestyle is.
Yeah. And what you want out of it.
Right, exactly.
I really want people to, like,
I don't want to discourage people from building at all.
No.
Because, like, I think these days, like, not a lot of people even use their hands or tools. Things are moving kind of away from actually getting dirty and like building stuff. Yeah, build your vehicle based on how you're gonna live and how long you think you're gonna do it. You know, be honest. I think with yourself. I think is the main thing. Is like, are you really gonna want to do this for like an extended period of time? I mean, that's kind of how we went into it. Was that we wanted to be able to do it for an extended period of time. More of like an actual like next stage in our life versus just like a sabbatical or something like that. This was just like, okay, this is the next thing. If you want to do it as a sabbatical, I probably wouldn't go this crazy on the vehicle. I would do something way simpler, way cheaper, or not. This was cheap, but way simpler and quicker, and get on the road and go do the fun stuff, and then you can reevaluate. So, and then maybe if you love it, then you go crazy and you build it out really heavy.